Are you ready to dive into a world of darkness and horror? Edgar Nightmare brings you the ultimate coloring book for those who dare to go beyond the realm of the ordinary. Each page of this dark fantasy is a gateway to a sinister and chilling universe filled with terrifying creatures that will leave you questioning what lurks in the shadows as you breathe life into these spine-chilling designs. This book is not for the faint of heart. It's for those who crave the thrill of the unknown and are not afraid to embrace their inner darkness. In fact, I would say it's the perfect thing to do while listening to horror stories on channels like mine. So if you're ready to enter a realm of terror and unlock your creative potential, order your copy of the Dark Fantasy Horror Coloring Book on Amazon today. My name is Kevin, and I live in Missouri. This story is about two encounters that I've had with a strange creature. The first occurred in 2013, and the second happened 6 years later. In 2013, I was going to community college, and I was still living with my parents. It was a cool October day when my dad drove me to class. We took the scenic route that day. It was a long, winding road along a cliff that was lined with trees to the left and houses on the right. It overlooked a valley in the Merrimack River below. As we drove up the road past someone's driveway, we saw what looked like a large dog sitting at the end of the driveway. However, something was off about this dog. I noticed its hind legs were way too long for its body. Its frame appeared emaciated, and there was just something unnatural about the way its mouth and muzzle were shaped. It was like it was making a strange face of some kind. "Dad, what's up with that dog?" As it turned its head, I saw a pair of bright yellow eyes staring us down. That looks like a coyote. Except it's big. That one must work out or something." Are you sure? That looks like nothing I've ever seen before." "I'm positive. They do lurk around this area." Part of me wanted to believe my dad, but the way that thing looked was too unnatural and disturbing. Then again, there was a drug lab on the same road that was raided by the feds after a dispute happened that involved the death of someone who worked there. So for all I knew, that poor dog could have been experimented on and escaped. That was the theory at the time. I had no idea about the Native American lore regarding shape-shifting beings known as Skinwalkers. In time, I had forgotten all about this encounter. That was until August of 2019. I was living in my own apartment, which was notorious for noisy neighbors, drugs, subpar maintenance, and occasional fighting. I took nightly walks to escape my building and to keep myself in shape. I used to walk from my unit to the local gas station, which was about a 2-mile journey. The road was surrounded by trees and houses, but there was a stretch with an open field of tall grass. On the night in question, I got to the open field area and heard rustling coming from the tall grass in the field. I couldn't see anything, but I picked up the pace and got back home at around 1 a.m. Around 3:30 a.m., I turned out all the lights in my apartment and closed my blinds. I had just finished a joint and was trying to fall asleep. Not even 10 seconds after I drifted off, I heard a faint tapping sound on my bedroom window. I stayed put and didn't move. My blinds were closed, so I knew whoever it was couldn't see me. But the courtyard light cast a shadow on my wall of a towering figure with wide shoulders and long arms. I dismissed the sight as a hallucination and eventually fell asleep. September came along, and I'm on another walk across the street from the gas station. I see 2 police officers trying to calm down a girl who was in her late teens or early 20s. The girl was obviously having some kind of drug-related freakout or a mental breakdown, as she kept running around, wailing and mumbling. I just went inside and asked the gas station attendant what was going on. I don't know, man. She just started running around and flailing her arms and shouting nonsense. He had to call the police since he couldn't get through to her. I just rolled my eyes. Amusing, but whatever. I paid for my stuff and left. Before leaving, I took one last look and saw the woman running around a parking lot as the police continued to try to calm her down. Not even a quarter mile away, I heard the loudest, longest scream from the direction of the parking lot. I knew the girl was probably being taken into custody or something. Well, that sucks, I muttered to myself as I continued toward my apartment. I forget how many days went by after this incident, but I was on another walk. This time I was walking on the side with the tall grass when I heard a deep, distorted voice say,
"Well, that sucks."
Curiosity got the better of me, so I crossed the street to the right side, which was a big mistake. Further down was a tall lamppost. A small figure came out of the tall grass and stood beneath the light. As I got closer, I got a better look at the figure. It had long hair that covered its face. It had these unnaturally long arms and huge hands. It was too small to be an adult, maybe a child. I was simply going to walk past the figure when I looked up and saw those same yellow eyes I had seen 6 years prior. I then heard a familiar shriek. The thing had imitated that crazy girl's screams spot on, only louder and longer. I didn't hesitate. I ran all the way back to my apartment, promising my higher power that I would do differently in life if he protected me from whatever this unholy abomination was. I made it home safely that night and made sure everything was locked up tight. I stopped walking at nights for a while after that, and I never saw that thing again. In November of that year, I moved out of that apartment and into a townhome and began listening to horror story narrations on YouTube. The topic of skinwalkers came up. It piqued my interest, and I did my research on what they were. I then began to piece everything together. The abnormal-looking dog with yellow eyes, the tapping on my window, the girl freaking out in the parking lot, the creature imitating my voice, and the girl's scream. Both occurrences happened near Castlewood and Creve-Cure Park, locations with extensive Native American history. Sometimes I wonder if it was that dog creature I saw back in 2013 that followed me for 6 years. And perhaps that girl wasn't on drugs, but in shock from seeing what I saw. Either way, I hope she's okay and got the help she needed that night. I still live close to that area, but when I pass through there in my car, I always keep looking forward and never off to the sides. I'm afraid that I'll see those damn yellow eyes piercing through my soul. My name is Mitch. My friends and I live in a small mountain town with a very low population. If you're not into the outdoors, this isn't really the place for you. One day, my best friend James invited my girlfriend and I to stay at his grandparents' house for a few days, which was way up in the mountains. A couple more mutual friends would also be there. It was party time. We agreed and packed our stuff and headed over. We got there and settled in, and shortly after, we got unbelievably high. The house was full of smoke within an hour. My girlfriend Tracy told us that she had the munchies and we should have a picnic in the forest. We all thought it was the perfect idea. Remember, we were all high. So we packed some snacks in a box and grabbed one of those checker red blankets for that authentic picnic feel. We also didn't forget to pack some more of the green. Can't forget that. We then set off into the woods, completely unprepared for anything other than a picnic. We walked for a while until we got to a small clearing, then sat down to set up. Tracy, James, and Max, one of my other friends, were about to light up another joint, but myself, JJ, and Rex decided that we would sober up a bit. After all, we were in the middle of the forest, where lots of things could go wrong. Thank God I made that decision, as it may have saved our lives that day. If I had kept smoking, I would have become lethargic and unaware. I probably wouldn't be here right now telling you this story. After a while, we got up and began heading back. After just a few minutes of walking around, I hear a twig snap behind us. I froze. Did you guys hear that? All of them shook their heads no. Another twig snaps, and this time, everyone hears it. Who the hell was that? Y'all, relax. Did you forget that we're in a forest? It's probably a deer or something. Max chimed in. But James, our host, was freaking out. Guys, we should leave now. I heard that wolves roam around this area at night. Hearing this made the rest of us uneasy, but Max has always been the more level-headed person in the group and tries to reason with us. Look, if it is a wolf, they generally try to avoid contact. Maybe if one of us was out here, sure, but it's unlikely they would attack a group of people. We then saw something that looked like a wolf dashing between the trees. It appeared to be wounded, with blood covering most of its fur. It ran off in the opposite direction. You see? Like I said, they usually don't attack groups of people, and it looks like that one lost a fight or something. This calmed most of us down, but not me. The wolf we saw was a pretty big size. I only saw it for a split second, but it did look like it lost a fight with something and was fleeing the area. To me, this was an indication of something else lurking in these woods. Something that just kicked out an apex predator. My worst fears came true just a few moments later, when down the hill, we heard something making its way through the trees. It soon emerged from the tree line. It was absolutely horrifying. It resembled a massive wolf that stood on its hind legs. Its snout was the size of my arm. We saw blood falling out of its mouth. I quickly grabbed Tracy and took off. I could hear my other friends behind me screaming as they ran. We all got back to the house and went inside and barricaded the door. After about an hour of carefully listening, we began to hear sounds from outside. I checked the window and saw that same wolf creature outside the house. As soon as I saw it, I pulled away. Oh shit, it followed us back here. Quick, let's get into the basement. There's too many places for it to get inside up here, James said. We all went down into the basement and stayed there until the next morning. We carefully made our way out to the cars and promptly left that place. We still have no explanation for what we saw that day in the woods. Some mysterious wolf-like creature. I've heard and read stories about something called the Wolfman, but I always thought that was a movie character. None of us have ever gone back to that house since, but I do hope James returned with some air freshener before his grandparents stayed there again. I'm going to keep this story short and sweet. I am a male, and I was 19 years old and was still living at my parents' house in Texas at the time of this story. One night, I was biking back home from my second job at Burger King. It was 10 p.m., and it was almost pitch black out. What's worse, I had to bike down this really creepy back road, otherwise it would have taken much longer to get back home. So while I was biking, I came upon something that gave me the chills. There was something in the middle of the road. At first, I thought it was a statue. It was standing perfectly still, with one of its arms up like it was waving. Did somebody forget to put Pazuzu in the U-Haul? I kept biking, but I couldn't feel a bone in my body as I got closer. And no matter how fast I advanced, the statue always seemed to be at a distance, while not moving whatsoever. A pair of red eyes flashed at me before being obscured by the headlights of a passing car. The thing then seemed to vanish into thin air. I rushed home as fast as I could and didn't tell anyone about what I saw. The next day, I did some research, and it turns out that many other people around this area have seen this thing as well. There are many theories about what it is exactly, but he is most commonly referred to as the Mothman. Here's the creepiest part. Based on what I've read, every person who has seen this thing has experienced misfortune shortly after, from losing a loved one to getting into a car wreck. But I'm now 34. I've had my hardships in life just like everyone else, but never anything that I would contribute to what I saw on the road that night. One thing is for sure, I will never go down that road ever again. Hey everyone, this is your Uncle Unit. Thank you so much for checking out my video. If you have a story that you would like me to narrate on this channel, please send it to my email, unit522submit@gmail.com. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future content. And if you would like to support this channel even further, you can check out my merch store. There's a link for that in the description. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you stay tuned for the next video. Until then, never forget